Something strange is going on here as Josh Giddey has been benched for 4 straight games. We're going to be talking about what this means for the Chicago Bulls as they push forward this season. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today we are simply looking at Josh Giddey and him being benched for the last 4 games. If you didn't get a chance to look at yesterday's game, Josh Giddey also did not start the second half. And so to that point, Josh Giddey was in foul trouble and he also just was not playing very well offensively. And so it was a tough outing for Josh Giddey. I think that this was the worst game that he's had since he's been in the Chicago Bulls uniform. He only had 5 points. He had 1 steal. He had 1 assist. He was 1 of 5 from downtown, and he was 2 of 9 from the field with a negative 27 on the plus-minus box score. So just not a good game. So one of the things that Josh Giddey talked about in his transparency is just that if he were Billy Donovan, he would not have played himself like that. That's how bad it was. And so I think this is why I like what Josh Giddey has to say after, because he's very transparent. And this goes into what he talked about in media day when he was like, look, playing defense is one of the things that I've got to get better at. And he really struggled defensively out there. I mean, there were plays where it just looked bad. But we're going to talk about why that is just not a Josh Giddey thing. It's really a really bad issue here. And so let's go ahead and move on to what Billy Donovan had to say. And so Billy Donovan, after as well, when he's asked about it, he says, look, I've got confidence in Josh Giddey, or I've got confidence in Josh, but in certain situations, Josh will be closing. All right, so that is concerning, okay? When you're saying that you have some confidence, but only in certain situations, that lets me know that you're aware that Josh Giddey is definitely struggling defensively, and you know that you can't put him out there. And now you're saying to yourself, it's gotten bad enough to where you are literally having to consider other players to close out for him. And I think that from a trade standpoint, when you look at what AK did over the summer and getting Josh Giddey here, I understand it. I understand what he's trying to do. He wants to make him the cornerstone of the franchise. Fine. But when you do that and you don't have the pieces around him, this is the results. You're starting to see this. And I don't think that it's going to get any better for Josh Giddey. I think that Josh Giddey has gotten better a little bit offensively. When we look at the numbers statistically, and I'm not going to go into a ton of numbers, but from a 3-point percentage standpoint, he's up there. I think he's shooting a career high at 40% at this point. Then when it comes down to free throw attempts, he is up in that category as well, up to 3.2 free throw attempts a game. So he's getting to the line. He's hitting 3-point shots. So he's gotten a little bit better there offensively, but defensively, it has not gotten better. And it's getting to the point where, because we don't have a good enough team around him, he's going to be a liability every night, and you just can't do that. And so I'm concerned because I don't think that the Chicago Bulls really thought about this when they went out and traded for Josh Giddey. I don't think that they're thinking about what they're going to do in the long term. And I think that regardless of how good Josh Giddey gets as a player on the offensive end of the ball, he's going to be set up set up to fail. And when I say that, I'm reminded of the narrative that was around Zach Lavine. And this goes into a quote from Steph Noah, right? Because what we're talking about now with Josh Giddey, we're talking about roster construction. We're talking about now Josh Giddey has to trust that AK, Mark Eversley are going to make the appropriate decisions to get him rim protectors. They're going to put better perimeter defensive players around him. And they're also going to put players around him to where if he is the primary ball handler, the playmaker, the one that sets the table, then when he does pass the ball, obviously, to his teammates, they're able to finish these plays. So you got to get somebody that can go back and forth, and we don't have that. And so I think of the quote from Steph Noah because, look, when you look at it, AK, he signed Zach Lavine, and we were thinking that Zach Lavine was going to be the focal point of the franchise. But when you see a stat like this, where 72 of his 101 teammates completely out of the league, I could see this being the case for Josh Giddey. And if this is the case for Josh Giddey, I don't see how he could be successful. This stat right here lets you know that the front office just clearly doesn't have the plan in place, and they don't know what they want to do with this roster. I don't think that they're going to be able to figure it out a year from now. I don't even think they'll be able to figure it out 3 years from now. Because here's what I'm going to say on that. Do we think that OKC's roster is a lot better than the Chicago Bulls roster? Of course it is. Was the OKC roster better than the Chicago Bulls roster this year? Absolutely it was. So do we see a situation where we get that good? And when I say we get that good, when we look at OKC's roster currently constructed now, okay, take away Caruso, take away Isaiah Hartenstein, when you see the players that Josh Giddey was playing with, to an extent, like defensively, this was a better team. They were able to cover up some of those lapses that he had defensively. Like they had that. They had rim protection. They had perimeter defense in Lou Dort. You got Shea Gillis out here. You got Williams out here, Jalen Williams. You have so many people out here. You got Andrew Wiggins. You got Carson Wallace. Like they have so much more. And on top of that, with Sam Presti, even if he didn't have what he needed to protect Josh Giddey more defensively, he could have probably went out there and drafted it because, well, they have draft capital. The Chicago Bulls don't have that type of draft capital like that to go out there and get the talent. And this is where you just have to think, like, it's strange. You put this guy in a situation where he's probably not going to be successful. I don't see the Chicago Bulls going out there, and let's say that they get Copper Flagg. I don't think that they even have a plan for a Copper Flagg. Does Copper Flagg even fit with Josh Giddey? If that's what you want, if you want him to be the cornerstone of your franchise, is that going to be enough for you? And this is why we're just thinking to ourselves, like, you knew that this was an issue. Why did you not go out there and get another defender or go out there and get some more draft capital to where maybe you could have gone out there and gotten somebody to help out this situation? The Chicago Bulls didn't do that. And for the people out there that are saying, well, yeah, you can get a Copper Flagg and that'll start to push us in the right direction. Is it? We don't even know what to do with Modest Buzelis. He played 12 minutes, but he only played 46 seconds in the second half. And this is after going 3 for 3 for 9 points. Like, we clearly don't know what we want to do with our players and our personnel. And yes, I know that Josh Giddey struggles defensively. I get that. I don't know if Josh Giddey's ever going to be an all-defensive player. Like, it just is what it is. But you have to ask yourself, if you acquired this young man and you're looking to build around him, what direction do you have? What plan do you have? I don't think you have that. And it adds to the frustration and it doesn't make sense because he left a franchise with Sam Presti. We don't have that. We're not even close to that. And so this is where you have got to be worried that this may not work out. Never mind that we lose Alex Caruso, but we just don't know. Like, we don't have a direction after this. And so let me know in the comments what you think. Again, this isn't a teardown session, but it's just stating the obvious and stating really what I've been saying video after video, that you have got to pick a course of action. Are you going with the youth movement? If you are going with the youth movement, you want to go with this faster offense. You also need to play defense. And you have a player over here. Yes, he can set the table, but he's a defensive liability. Are you addressing that? And the answer is no, and I don't think we have a plan for this. So let me know in the comments what you are thinking about this recent news and some of this recent situation, I guess, around Josh Giddey being benched. Let me know what you're thinking as far as the direction of this franchise. Because I think even if you go out there and you say, well, fire Billy Donovan, I'm telling you that's not going to happen. I don't think that the owner is willing to pay two coaches. Like, that's not going to happen. He's just not going to pay Billy Donovan to go out there and sit down. And at the end of the day, like that still is not going to change the fact that you don't have the right roster. Like you just don't. The roster construction is terrible. So, look, even though we have tons of questions, I'm always saying go Bulls, but this is just, it's mind boggling. So I just want to thank everybody out there for liking, subscribing, and sharing to Bulls Digest. It means a lot here as we try to reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers before the NBA season ends. And look, I want to tell you that 64.2% of you that watch are not subscribed. So make sure you go ahead and mash that subscribe button. And I'm just saying, look, even though we are going around the merry-go-round yet again, I'm still saying go Bulls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.